This video will take you through the exact routine that I used to cure my posterior tibial tendonitis and keep the pain at bay. So what I've done is pulled together the stretching routines and the strength routines and the little additional extras that I did over the course of about 6 to 8 weeks every single day that have then allowed me to be able to run and train and race pain-free again. Now, these are all routines that I've gathered from YouTube and looking at other YouTubers. So what I'm not going to do is show you every single exercise rep by rep. I'm just going to give you a kind of overview of them. I will link to all of the routines that I've used in the description below. So when you've watched this, go to the description, click on those videos, and then use them as follow-alongs, as they were the ones that I used and they really helped. So the first thing I did was 2 stretching routines, and the first stretching routine is by Tom Merrick. Now, he is the bodyweight warrior, not specifically a runner, but this was his runner's stretching routine, one that I've been using for about 6 or 7 years now. I just really like it. It's about 15 to 20 minutes long, and it covers the whole sort of range of the runner's body, from the lower back, glutes, hamstrings, and down to the calves. It's really straightforward, it's really easy to follow, it's quite relaxing, and the reason I did this was just to kind of warm up and prime the body and also sort of loosen up some of those bigger running muscles, the glutes and the hamstrings and the calves. Just thinking about that kinetic chain running down the body and making sure that everything is nice and loose and nice and relaxed. This routine takes about 15 to 20 minutes to fully complete. Now, secondly, after I'd done that routine, I then moved on to a more specific posterior tibial tendonitis stretching routine. And this one was done by the Westie runner. Again, link to that video in the description below. It's a really good routine to follow, and it takes 5 simple exercises, and you can sort of build up through the rep range, and he'll talk you through exactly how many reps you can build up to. And he'll also give a really good explanation of why you are doing each exercise. So this is me going through those 5 exercises now, a series of sort of stretches that are all working on that posterior tibial tendon. Now, when I began this in the early stages of the injury, it was very painful. I could only manage about 3 to 5 reps of some of the exercises. And after I'd familiarised myself with the exercises, what I did was I set my watch for a 10-minute timer, and I would just do each exercise for about 2 minutes each. Following on from this, I would get the massage gun out and I would work on my lower leg. So in particular, my calf area, and then the sole of my feet, working on the plantar fascia. In fact, when I first started to feel a pain, it manifested itself in and around sort of the sole of my foot. So I thought I had plantar fasciitis and I treated it as such. It was only when it kind of moved up the ankle that I realised it might be something different. But yeah, using the massage gun on quite a vigorous setting, once you've kind of got used to it, to massage that calf down the lower leg and then underneath the foot as well. And this was the one that would give me so much relief. When I did this and I walked again, my foot would just feel instantly lighter and completely pain-free. Really important as well during this process that you keep things balanced. So if you're doing exercises on the foot that is affected, make sure you're doing them on the other one as well. And that goes for the massage too. So that's the main part of the routine. That would take me approximately 30 to 40 minutes each day. So it's a fairly big commitment, but once you've got into it, you just got the TV on in the background, you can just kind of make it part of your evening. It's not too difficult to fit in. There were some additional extras that I did as well, things that really worked for me. So one of them was using a magnesium joint spray, like this one that I've got here. And I would put on about 10 to 20 squirts of this magnesium spray and rub it in to the affected area. After that, I would wear a compression sock for a period of time. Sometimes I might only be able to keep the compression sock on for about 15 or 20 minutes, because if the area was a bit swollen, it would just feel quite sore. But there are other times when I would keep that compression sock on overnight. And I just really like this compression sock because it keeps my foot nice and sort of rigid, keeps everything sort of in place, especially at night when you go to sleep and your foot tends to relax and flop forward. And then thirdly, the other thing that I did was I would go to bed with a hot water bottle. And the reason I did this was it just felt really nice. And I would just keep that on my foot. And I just felt like it was just kind of relaxing all of the muscles in my lower leg and my foot and just soothing them. So yeah, hot water bottle as well really worked for me. So that is aspects of the routine that I followed to cure myself of the posterior tibial tendonitis. Now, during my training, there were other things that I needed to do as well in order to sort of mitigate the injury and any risk of further injury. So, a couple of things that I did. Number one is the key is to reduce your volume. Now, for some people, that might mean taking days off from running or not running completely for a period of time. As the channel suggests, I run daily. So that wasn't something that I was sort of looking to do at this stage based on how I was kind of feeling about the pain and being able to manage it. But what I did do is I just reduced my volume. So there were weeks when I only ran 1 mile each day, so about 7 miles over the course of the week. What I also made sure I did was that those runs, about 90% of my running was done on the treadmill. And the reason I did it on the treadmill was A, because my injury happened over the winter and in the Northern Hemisphere. That meant for icy roads, just a bit too risky. B, I certainly wasn't going to go out onto trails because the uneven surface would just risk sort of rolling the ankle or rolling my foot. And that was kind of the same on pavements as well. Stepping down off of curbs, the camber on the road, the camber on the pavements. You know, you don't notice it when everything is feeling healthy and strong, but as soon as you've got that injury, everything is sort of exaggerated, or it's like looking through a magnifying glass. I could feel every nuance of the road. So treadmill running for me was just a really safe way of continuing to get my running in, but doing it in a safe way. It goes without saying that all of my runs were easy runs. If I did try and push it, you know, I would feel the impact of that the next day or later on that day. So it just wasn't worth it in those couple of months. Just easy runs. If you want to do something a bit harder and get the heart rate elevated, then get yourself onto a stationary bike and just do your cardio in that way. And for the time being as well, and I think this is probably more mental than it is physical, I've shifted my focus onto shorter distances. So I'm not thinking about marathons at the moment. I wish I was, but I'm not. I've switched my focus to 5Ks and 10Ks and the odd half marathon, but I'm not particularly training for half marathons. And just doing that just took the pressure off a little bit. As soon as I didn't have to worry about training for a marathon, it didn't matter that I wasn't doing 30 miles a week or 40 miles a week. I could just run what I needed to run. So yeah, shift the focus. I know it's tough, but mentally it will just be a big weight off your mind. Know that you're probably going to need 2, 4, maybe even 6 months to sort of be fully recovered from this injury, and just adjust your training and your expectations accordingly. Now, I did use a more supportive and more cushioned trainer, but I didn't go down the full stability shoe route. I've now moved to Ultra shoes again for most of my runs, about 50 to 60% of my runs. And the reason for doing that is, you know, I want to make sure that the muscles in my feet are strong and are able to absorb the training that I'm doing. And if I'm mitigating that by using a stability shoe, then I just fear that I'm using a shoe to resolve the problem rather than using my body and my muscles to try and resolve the problem. And I think focusing on the latter is better. So using a more natural shoe like the Ultra Escalante 4 that I'm running in at the moment, for me has just been a better choice. And I haven't felt any pain at all, and I just feel like my feet are getting stronger and stronger the more I run in those shoes. And finally, the last thing that I did not do is I did not stop running. Now, I know this is not for everyone and it's potentially a little bit controversial. You know your body, you know your pain threshold, and you know how you feel, as do I. For me, continuing to run every day, albeit at a reduced volume, just meant that I was able to keep a check on how the injury was progressing. I knew I was following a good routine with my rehab. I knew I was doing other things sensibly to mitigate any sort of further damage or further injury. So as long as I kept things nice and easy, this was my way of being able to keep in touch with how the injury was feeling from a running point of view. I'd also read and seen lots of things where people had given up running for periods of time only to then start again and for the injury just to flare back up. So for me, keeping running was the choice that I made in order to keep a check on how my injury was progressing. So there we go. It feels like there's a lot of information that's been crammed into this video. I do hope it's useful seeing how it all sort of comes together. I can confirm 100% that I am running pain and injury free, and I'm actually running some of my fastest and my best 5k times that I have done in a couple of years. So out of every bad situation, good things can come too. Like I've said throughout the video, be sure to check out the exact routines as linked below, because they are the ones that have really helped me conquer this rather horrible and frustrating injury. I am open to any questions, comments or debates in the comment section below, so do drop those in and I will do my best to answer, or at least signpost to the people that can answer. Thank you for watching. I hope it's been of some use to you, and I hope if you have this injury, you're free of it very, very soon. Take care for now.